Hey everybody, and welcome to another Binary Ninja live stream. I'm a little behind my usual schedule right now, so apologies if we're a little slow to start. But it's good to be here. This new every other week schedule gives us even more things, I think, to talk about. So first up, we're going to do some announcements and just kind of talk about a couple things that have been happening. I think I feel like my background music is a little bit loud, so I'm gonna drop that down. Um, and so, first, congratulations to Hexrays. They just had a tweet where they talked about their 30-year anniversary. Hexrays and IDA Pro are like 30 years old, which is really, really impressive. Good for them. It's cool to see a lot of competition lately in the market. You've got Ghidorah and Biter Ninja and Jeb and Hopper and lots of other choices, but for a long time, like that was it. The IDA was the only game in town, and I think we all tend to take for granted some of the things that they popularized just because they sort of did it. And now we kind of course, that's how a tool would work, but they really sort of paved the way for a lot of these other ways. So, congrats to them on that. Next up is I wanted to remind the plugin authors, like if you have written a plugin, please make sure you're testing the Qt6 branch. So as a reminder, on Binary Ninja, just in the last dev, we've had a new like test branch you can switch to for Qt6 releases, and that will be like the stable build. So make sure, yep, Marcus, I see you. So please make sure you test your stuff with it. Like you have to make changes because but they're relatively straightforward. If you look at some of our official ones, Vista Miner, same goes for you. Yeah, please double check, switch to the test branch. Mostly all you really have to do, there's a couple of deprecated APIs that are pretty easy to work around. If you look at the snippets plugin, if you look at SigKit, if you look at, I think, Debugger now too, there's like just a standard you can replace your imports from PySide 2 to PySide 6. That's the biggest and most obvious thing that you have to do or it just breaks. So please test that. We've got some demos on like how you can switch between, how you can detect it and switch between the two. So please check out that. What else we got? Tester plugins, stable release, right? So 2.4 is coming out soon, and if I let's see, bring up this one, and also just to test, let's see, where did chat go? Can I turn chat on and off? I thought I had. Oh no, I lost where my like enable and disable chat button was on my my stream deck. So let me, oh no, I think I know, it's this one, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay, cool. All right. One of the things that we're trying to do, so you may have seen our second Binary Ninja Basics video was posted, and I think the third one's also coming out soon too. So we're trying to take these, hour, 2 hour long live streams and do some sections specifically for just topical introductions to things in Binary Ninja. And one of the things that we want to do with that is make sure we've got like really everything kind of like easy to use and see. So I'm probably going to like turn off like chat and face cam and just like show the screen and do my voice. So make sure we get those, or have any of the screen kind of blocked out, because the basics people don't need to see it. So just kind of testing that. But we want to make sure that y'all can still see me when we're just chilling and chatting. So let's go back to the 2.4 release before we get to the basics, because you may have also noticed too on our current GitHub issues, like we work really hard the last couple of weeks to keep our open issues under 500. Like for whatever reason, like there's this psychological thing there. So we're really working hard to go like find bugs that we can close, duplicates, and things we can fix. There are worse motivations to have, I think. And so we right now exactly 500 open. These last couple, and look, it was Glenn and John, like two vector people that did that. Like we should have a rule, you have to like close a bug before you can open a new one. Actually, John already has a PR in for his, so that might land soon. And that'll be actually a nice one. Yeah, Yeah, that's one way to get old bugs fixed, right? Just go file a new one, or it'll mean we're just gonna close your new bug faster, JC. So be careful. We might just like accidentally close things a little too quickly. But if you take a look at these, you'll notice that adding reflection as a first-party theme. That's like I said. There's already a PR waiting for that. We're gonna hopefully do that one quickly. I love it. I've been basically rocking just the reflection theme for the last several weeks. Like I don't plan to change it. Wait, am I running? No, I'm running reflection now. Yeah, I was checking out some stuff in the debugger view. So, yeah, the reflection view is like that's my vote for favorite theme next to the Dark Original. So we definitely want to ship that, so you don't even have to have the theme repo cloned. You could switch to that. So there's a bunch of other things here, but let's look over. Ooh, and I have also seen a preview of the new UI refactor that's not coming with the 2.4 release. Very, very early. There's still a lot left to do on it, but I think it's going to be super nice. So Rusty is working on that. It'll be a while. Milestones, that's the button I'm looking for. So you'll notice, again, we talked about this a little bit last time as well, that we've kind of split up 2.4, 3.0, and 3.1 here for our milestones, where 2.4 is basically what we've done. I mean, you just look, we've got like 70 issues, 70 issues or bugs, enhancements or whatever they are. It's a mix. And we're just about done with that. So the release date on that is about 2 weeks, a little bit less than that. So our goal is we'll do a code freeze earlier, and that's when we do some more like in-depth testing, and we really just make sure there's been no regressions and things that we're missing. So any crashes, definitely as soon as you can, if you find any or anything like that, that's when we really try to iron all those stuff out. And we're not adding any new features; those all kind of wait once the last little bit of time goes in. So look for that, and that'll actually mean, let's see if that's June. Oh yeah, that's right. That is less than 2 weeks, because the next stream is June 4th. Wait, am I getting my dates wrong? I should pull up a calendar. What days are that? Yeah, June 4th is the day that we are streaming, which I think I got wrong on my countdown now that I think about it. So the countdown is wrong. The Qt6 rollout. That's a great question, Piston Miner. At one point, we were thinking for what was going to be 3.0 that we've rolled into 2.4. Also, one second. My light's off. I just realized. I also forgot my chai, so I had to go get that too while I was turning on the light. Anytime I notice there's like shadows on one side, I'm like, wait, why are my shadows showing up? So I don't know for certain if we have decided if Qt6 is coming in 2.4 or 3.0. I don't know if we have an issue that's tagged for it. That would be one way to tell. I think okay, no, so it is 3.0. So you have a little bit of time. Because we did this split, like I said, originally 3.0 was going to be what we're now doing is 2.4, because we realized that we've already had tons of worthwhile features. Like the 2.4 releases can be really nice, and we would rather have some more testing for the UI refactor that's coming in 3.0. So you got time. Current, well, that's wrong. The due date for 3.0 is definitely not June 1st. We should probably fix that. I think we just didn't have a expected release date yet on it. We wanted to wait and see, make sure we got 2.4 out on time. But we don't pick the date for the next release until after we've gotten the previous one out. So, excuse me. But good question. So it's looking like it'll be at least another couple months. So you have some time, but don't put it off too much. In fact, we've been working on getting our official ones done as well. So that's the 2.4. And then actually, yeah, we'll probably cover this next week, as 2.4 will be out. and we'll do kind of like a recap of the blog post and all of the like changes that have come with the 2.4s. Actually, for the fact that we originally thought it was going to have this 3.0 UI overhaul and we turned it into 2.4 instead, it's got a tremendous number of cool new features. And on that note, let's actually check out. There's 2 new ones. One that just landed on dev this week, and one that I think I just built the test branch of. So we're going to find out if it runs. That's a great sign. It runs. Okay, so this one is going to be the test branch that has a secret feature. Hey, Fox, welcome. So the secret feature that's coming in this test branch, I don't want to release it. Well, I don't want to talk about it yet. We'll surprise you guys in a second. And then let's go to, yeah, so here is our dev build. I think this is latest dev. No, this one actually needs to be updated. So we'll grab latest dev on this as well, excuse me. And so the first one that is out already, one of the 2.4 features that is live, is the new edit function dialog box. And so I do actually have to grab this dev update because it only landed this past week, and so it wouldn't have been on a release a couple of weeks old. Yeah, I'm really happy with like the rate of new features and stuff lately has just been fantastic. Like there's lots of really good stuff that are landing. And you know, so 2.4 is going to ship, and then soon after in 3.0 we're going to have like UI overhaul. I'm hoping analysis passes might end up landing in that one. We'll see for sure. That's a major feature. So it may be partially available, or maybe it'll take a little bit longer, but it'd be cool if we have some analysis passes in time for the 3.0 the next month or two. Okay, so let's just go to our old standby here, challenge 1, and there is a new right-click option called Edit Function Properties, and of course we can use the action system and get it that way too. And you'll notice, oh right, I don't have any window Chrome because I still never figured out how to use my window manager. One of these days I'll do that. So there's a little scroll bar here too, you see at the bottom. And one nice feature that John added on this, I kind of complained about it. I was like, I have so my mouse has a thumb wheel, right? Like I can actually do a sideways scrolling, but I was like, but it's not really convenient if you have to like click and drag, or how's it like supposed to go side to side? And he's like, no, you can use up and down scroll. So that's kind of a nice little thing. But if you see the scroll bar down there, you can just use your mouse wheel to scroll it. And I think we're planning to have some line wrapping, but just that didn't make the first cut of it. So we've got a couple of tags here, some more information, and I'll pull up the documentation in a second, and we'll show you how, like what are all the different types of things it can do. Calling convention, stack adjustment. If this is like color cleanup and there's some extra stack adjustment, you can enter that in here, whether it's a variadic function, and if it is a no return or not. So you can toggle that off, and I think, yeah, so I think there's an issue right now where if I toggle it off and then I apply it, it adds it, and then I can go back and edit again, but it doesn't currently update that until I click apply. So just one thing to note in the current one, we'll probably end up, I think there's some discussion about changing that. Yeah, JC, that's exactly the thought a couple of people have had of like, well, like, wow, we're editing the function. Couldn't I just be able to like click up here and type and change the prototype as well, and name arguments, or name, just change the return type and all this stuff? Yeah, I think that'll probably come too. In fact, I don't know if John's watching the stream or not, but I think he's got a list of like edit function properties 2.0. Like there was things that didn't make the initial release because we wanted to get it on dev and tested before the 2.4 release. But I think there's some other stuff they're going to come on that. And yeah, the space here on the way that, the reason that they're vertical like that is because they're tables and you can check and uncheck them. So my pet peeve is I actually would like you to be able to like sort. I want to be able to like sort by what's checked and what's not. And by default, I think it should sort by what's checked. To just see the currently cloud registers, and then as you check something else, it would pop to the top of the list. Same for all the other things you could change. But yeah, like this is super nice. It's a good feature. Oh, okay. So apparently, yeah, John is watching. He's saying that you could originally edit the function signature, but there was some issues with that. So, um, so GameMind, that's a good question. Like, should the return type change if you've marked it as no return? Why wouldn't it be void? Um, I mean, because they're separate attributes, I think I kind of like this. Um, because like maybe I've checked it as no return for now, but later I want to change that. Maybe I'm making a no return just to stop analysis, but I actually want the type propagation to still happen. I guess it wouldn't really happen if there's nothing after it. I don't know. Like I feel like this is reasonable to have it this way. Um, but I have to think about that a little bit more. Should no return set that to void? That's an interesting idea. Oh, that is an excellent question too. Yeah, so John, this is perfect. While we're you've got that listed notes I know you've been working on. So Piston Miner is suggesting that parameters can come in registers and there's like an at annotation you can use. But if you could change the like the parameters to like where they're coming in, well, is that a part of the calling convention rather here too? That's a good question. Like, do you make that a custom calling convention? It's one of the other requests we've had is a custom calling convention. Somebody who said I would like to be able to like just right from here set all this stuff up. Um, yeah, yeah. Custom syntax for like calling convention stuff is annoying. It would be nice if the GUI actually had a way of doing that. One thing I will note, by the way, is look how nicely that pops. See the style sheet for this pop up, like this drop downs. So that extra like little shadow there, I think that was one of the changes John just made to make that a little bit more crisp. I think it looks pretty good. Um, yeah, some docs on the syntax. Is that syntax documented anywhere? I don't know. Let me make a note on that one. Um, yeah, I don't know if there is. If there is, it's probably it probably belongs in the working with types. But I don't see anything that mentions register, so my guess is it's not here yet. But yeah, I feel like that should be as well too. Um, but yeah, but that would actually alleviate the need for the docs a lot. I think if there was an interactive way to set the arguments and the types. Yeah, Piston. I don't think there are. I don't think there are docs on that currently. So I just took a note for that one. All of the function list enhancement stuff. I get to punt on John since he's on stream and ask him to put that to his master list. But documentation updates, I think are still probably on me. So yeah. I think ultimately you want both, right? Like you want to have good documentation for it, but if you've got a really nice UI for it, it's much less important, and you can kind of work back the notation from the UI if you need it from like an API perspective or something. Yeah, and just putting it in their first place where people know they could even do it. So anyway, it's a great start. We're looking forward to kind of some other updates on it as well, but it's been a nice feature that I think has been a long time voted. In fact, let's actually go double check that. I think that one just got closed, I believe. So yeah, let's see. I guess it was only issue 2071. I was expecting that one to be around longer. I wonder if it's been marked as a duplicate. Now it's a relatively new bug, but yeah, that feels like something that people have been asking about for quite a while. So cool. All right, so I've mentioned that I have another secret feature that I haven't told anyone yet. Well, I think Vectorites know. Anybody want to take a guess of which one of these other remaining 2.4 things is going to be in store? Is on a test branch, and I'm about to demo. See if we have any guesses, or maybe I'm just milking this for the drama. But let's see, people are like, yeah, whatever. I mean, A number of these I think are actually just bugs, which would be a little less impressive. The demo be like, yeah, we fixed the bug. So bug. Speaking of editing call types and variant calls, yeah, there's basically only one feature. Exactly, Piston. There we go. So Piston got it. It is pretty much the obvious choice. So create auto struct is here, and I'm excited to try it out. I have never seen it. I'm going to be trying it blind here. Like I said, I literally just built that test branch, compiled it, and we do have a test application that Xusheng used when he was developing it. So I think if I go to test auto create. So this one is a mock. Oh, no, that's an elf. Okay, so I actually have an elf I've already made. All right, so that's dev. This one here should be our test build. Ignore that. I like leaving Easter eggs in the stream. Or did I do that intentionally? All right. So right here. All right, so let's, yeah, that one had the old layout too. Let's reset the layout. Oh, I forgot. I think I've changed my hotkey for reset layout so that it loads a particular layout instead of, should shrink that a little bit more and then layouts. Is this dual? Yeah, save new, dual. So I think if I, let's see, do this and then Control Shift R. No, it's still a bit tall. I don't remember. Oh, normal is the layout name. Okay, so, oh, dual I just overwrote. Oh, wow. All right, so let's save this to, let's save new layout. We're gonna overwrite normal because I like it a little bit lower there. All right, so let's check it out. First, actually, yeah, let's look at the source code for this particular function. Open folder, samples, test auto create. All right, so here is this is a very kind of simple test case. And so this is not, Xusheng told me this is not exhaustive. The actual feature is capable of doing more than these, but this was just a good one to kind of show off. So we've got a basic integer struct, which just has a 1632 64 bits fields, and then type with pointers. Yeah, we've got a basic integer struct pointer inside. We've got a linked list, and we initialize global integers to a struct of basic integers of those. Got some helpers, and then we've got test integers, test pointers, test linked list, and main. All right, so that's our sample app. Let's try it. And like I said, this is going to be my first time looking at it too. So if we go to main, oh, the mailman is here. Let's see, hopefully my kids will grab it. All right, test integers. I mean, so the traditional way here to do this, if you've got like an allocation, is you could just hit S and it would create the structure, right? And then I could go at each one of these and hit S to create fields, and it would infer the size based on the size of these operations. And so now if I check in the type view, man, I keep meaning to make this change. Make that default. I want to make that default. Always show user first. Sure enough, we've got the structure. Although this is interesting, the compiler apparently put in one extra byte. Like, it's packed, but not that packed. I guess, I don't know. I'm not sure how that works, but it's hard to argue with the offsets. So that's the sort of like the old way, right? I just hit S a couple times and it did that. So let me undo that. And now let's see, I don't even know. So auto struct, like I don't even know what, is this a command palette thing? Should have asked. I I should have asked how to actually trigger the function. Maybe Peter's on if he knows how to. Oh, look, there's still our transform from a few weeks ago. How do I get auto structured? Or maybe I make the struct, and then once I have the struct, let's try this. Or do I actually, let's try this. Let's go to type view. Oh, so these may be, hold on, let's actually reopen this because with the undoing, it may still have had. Let's do this. Let's go to main. Let's test integers. Let's create a struct, but now let's go to type view. And let's look at that. Oh, no. That's cool. It does have all of the offsets automatically for those usage. Yeah. Create member and accessed offsets. Okay, so that, I mean, that's it. It just does it. It does its job. That's, so I was wondering if it was sort of like automatic like that. Like if you literally create a struct, it is just on its own being like, yeah, I see the uses right here. Fox, when a structure is packed, it means that instead of padding out the widths of the members of it to like whatever like a standard kind of size is, it will let them be shorter than like 32 bits or 64 bits. So packed means you can have a couple of 8-bit members and then a 16-bit member, and instead of taking like the full width 64 bits of each one. I'm actually bad with C and C++, so somebody else in chat might have a better explanation for that. But that's my understanding, at least, that it basically says you can pack them in closer instead of no pad. Yeah, exactly, just no padding generally. So I don't know what the compiler chooses for the widths, but so I mean you can choose packed or unpacked. When you create a structure, like if I actually hit T or I, sorry, I is creating type, and if I actually type a struct, make some struct, and I do packed or not, that controls whether or not, like when I pass it through the type parser, whether or not it's going to be packed. If you want more control than that, you can actually use the API, and you can do types.structure. You can create a raw structure. You can add members at whatever offsets you want. So you can do all sorts of stuff just arbitrarily through the API, but not using the so you can create the type, and that is documented. I do know in the API docs here that's working with types. And in fact, actually, now that I think about this, working with types needs a documentation update. I think you may have already done that too on this branch. Let's actually check that real quick. I don't know. User documentation. Let's see, is it opening a new browser? Is that, that may not have been the right one. Actually, it wasn't the right one, so I didn't want that one. I want, let's see, let's go to cd dev binary ninja out. Oh, I know what it doesn't have documentation. Because of the way I did this build, and this is like a development build, it doesn't have the full docs built. So actually can't pull that up from here. Yeah, game mind, exactly. So this right here, in fact, actually, if we go in, this is a good example. So this is this is right now what I'm on. So if I'm on Windows 3 down here, this is, oh, and by the way, chat, remind me if I forget, if I start doing Binary Ninja Basics and I don't turn off my chat and my video, remind me about that. But if I'm on Windows 3, I'm on a dev release, and if I'm on Windows 4, I'm on this test build. The test build has the new auto struct stuff. So if I try the same binary, and I come over here and I just create a structure there, and then I go to the types view. So it does have just these offsets have cross references, right? So I can see them because there's cross references there. But we can see over here, it's got like a different syntax where it's just kind of annotating them, and I can still see the cross references like I could before. Here, the big difference though is I can just be like, yes, please make members, right? So right click on that and and create members. So that's the new feature that you can, given a structure that's applied, where is the structure applied in the binary? So you've got to go look at all the cross references for where that structure is. So you have to actually tell it like that structure here, or it has to be otherwise auto-discovered. Those references to that structure, that type, could be through type propagation. In fact, you could probably do that because I noticed that there was one of these that had a reference to another one. Yeah, I mean, game mind, like, confusing binary tools by doing something compilers don't do is very, very possible. Like, there's lots of good ways you can break analysis tools for sure, whether for obfuscation or for CTF or kind of whatever. Yeah, there's definitely lots of fun tricks you can pull on that front. I think that's where I would argue that the two strengths of like IDA and Binja come into play. I mentioned earlier IDA's done a lot for the field. Their big innovation was like this interactivity, right? It's not just like, here's all your analysis, here's your decompilation, and you're done. But like, you could apply types and structures, and you could give it more information, and then the analysis improves and that kind of stuff. So that interactivity is one key to solving weird stuff like that. And then the other key one is, in Binja's case, is the API, right? We really have focused heavily on making everything a first-class API, so you can build automation, right? So like, the interactivity helped you like teach the tool how to do the analysis. The automation helps you teach the tool once and then let it solve it for all future classes of that kind of obfuscation or that sort of technique. So I think those are the two main approaches how you would kind of go after something like that. Let me see. I'm just catching up, making sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. I got you, Piston. I don't actually know about setting a default padding. That's a good question for one of the other Vec35 people. If we don't get an answer in chat, if somebody doesn't chime in, ask that one either in Slack or on a GitHub discussion. That's a good question. Like, how can you, like, what's the default padding for a structure? Maybe that's actually part of the spec and it's based on the architecture bit width or something. I don't actually know. Or maybe it's just compiler chosen. You may actually know better than I do. But like I said, I'm not sure about that. All right, so it worked. Yeah, and it was literally just go the type and create member at accessed offsets. I mean, in some ways, that's my favorite feature, one that's just sort of like there and works really, really cleanly. What's interesting though is let's try something. Let's get rid of this binary. Oops. Okay, let's get rid of this binary. Let's reopen it. Let's say we've got a so we're gonna create a struct by hitting S. I'm gonna hit N and call the we're gonna hit N of the type basic integers. There we go. Call that ints. So can I double click the type? Oh yeah, that was much faster than just switching to the elf view. Just double click the type. That's right, that works too. So that's test integers. Test pointers, same thing. I can hit S, and we're going to call this pointer struct. And we can see a similar sort of deal. Can I actually, once I've made it, can I do it here? Yeah, it doesn't currently work from here, but I wouldn't think it'd be hard. But we can also now create member at, oh man, look at that. That's clean. Very nice. And yeah, so we've got all the fields labeled here. This one, I did not yet make them, right? So it still just has offset accesses. Good question, Piston Miner. Yeah, it gets the size right in this case because it knows malloc. I don't remember what other functions it works with. Does the documentation say? Okay, so it works with calloc, obviously, because this is the example in the documentation I mentioned specifically. Yeah, this one here. But I don't say which it is. Yeah, I'm going to add that to my list of documentation updates. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I could have also, right? I could have just as easily, actually. So again, yeah, let's just do this from scratch again. Let's open this up. For whatever reason, like if I had a different method of knowing that this was a 16 byte structure, I could have gone to my type view, insert a new, no, just insert a struct and call it dunno, tell it it's 16 bytes, and then set the type here to dunno, it's right, and got the same exact effect. And then I could come over here and yeah, get the same way that way. I think they might be hard coded currently, but I don't know if you can add more. If you can tell Binary Ninja these are allocators and this is where you get the size from. I don't know. That's yeah. I wanna actually look into update the documentation on that, on the type view and the smart structure stuff, because that would be a nice thing to. There's a lot of like wrappers, for example, around allocators that you might be able to, like, maybe the size is actually two other parameters added together or something else, or you might want to have a little bit of logic on how you can do that. And I don't currently know how that works. Peter has implemented that right now. But again, the auto struct stuff works well whether we do it that way or not. All right, so testing pointers, same thing. Oh, that was a interesting. What is? What is this one? So, what is var 10? This one is like going away. Return is going into var 10, and then is that an offset from this one? Or is that, so, is that just a string? Okay, so, huh, I don't actually know what that was doing. So I don't know if that's actually a good place for edit function prototype. I would say no. Like a checkbox where you could say this thing returns a struct or something like that. I don't think that's where that belongs. One thing we're trying to be intentional about is to not overload that dialogue with a million different things. Sorry, as I move my chair up. Because I feel like it's really easy to build a super busy UI that way and kind of overload like the user with a million different options and stuff. And so we want to like not we were joking internally, we had a couple screenshots of like world's worst app for like just crazy number of checkboxes and options, and Peter had a quote like that applicator was one that was like some copy file thing utility, literally just copied files, but it had like 60 checkboxes on the screen. And yeah, I mean, you could bury stuff like that in an advanced tab, or you can make stuff like, like our settings has lots of options, but it's searchable and there's different tags you can filter on, and they're organized in a category. Like, so you can make some of that stuff better, but it still just it decreases the odds the user actually ever finds important stuff. And so if you can be just smarter about it, I feel like, I don't know, we want to be very intentional before we just add every possible thing you could eventually do. Just so it stays kind of clean and straightforward, so you can do the easy things easy, right? And I'm not convinced that like adding something as a custom allocator belongs in a dialogue that you would just anytime you want to edit the properties of a function, but maybe. Yeah, bulk rename utility. That's right. That was the app, Sean. Thanks. It was quite the impressive little screenshot. So, all right, yeah. So struct 2, kind of the same thing. What we got? There's a linked list. We're going to call that one linked list, and we're going to do create pivot access structures. Boom. One thing to note, and I don't think this binary demonstrated it, but one of the things that I think is somewhat unique about this approach is this does global references. So it's not a function analysis. You'll notice I'm not in a function when I say, please find all the accesses to members. I'm on a type, and that type can be referenced in lots of different places. And the cross-reference system has cross-reference to all those and will collate all of them together and give you kind of like the superset. I don't know how it does like conflict resolution if there's different types of stuff. I think Shusheng could probably speak to that more eloquently. But I know that there is some behavior to do that. So it can make decisions about like what types when there's conflicting things. But yeah, so this is the fact that this is sort of like a global cross-reference creation, I think is pretty nice. And so, yeah, so anyways, back looking at this binary, does global integers have, you get a pointer 2-1 under test pointers. So, okay. Let's go back to our linked list. Yeah. So we already made our types here. And actually, yeah, so like it automatically picked up the fact that it is a, that's nice. Is it Prev and Next probably? I don't know if it was in that order or not, but actually we could probably look at that if there's, oh, where'd it go? Test linked list. Linked list, let's look for cross references. So these two, can you select both? No, you can't select both. That'd be kind of nice, actually. You can do that in the strings view. You can select multiple strings. It'll give you the sum cross references, but you can't do that in type view currently. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, that's not really actually doing any real linked list operations. So technically at this point, it could be either one. So we'll call it Prev and Next. Ooh, that works really well, actually. That up down. So because the up down is token based now when you're navigating, if you were on it and you just hit down, it keeps the cursor, so you can just hit up, down, enter right from a high level layout. That's nice. Hi Gilbert, welcome. Let me get caught up. I'm reading your comment now. Yeah, actually, so Piston and GameMind, you are both correct. In that, to answer your question, Gilbert, there is no, so the array detection that Binary Ninja has right now doesn't automatically detect stack array sizes. It's one of those to-do features yet to be done. We saw a ton of improvements in the array and the arrays of structures that are really, really nice and work really well in the last couple, even weeks, last month or so. But that's one that still remains, and so it will not create an array automatically when it's a stack-based array. So I mean, you could the struct creation would kind of work for that, but if it's a stack array, you're not going to get that. However, the stack view is also, so that one is not going to make 2.4, but it will be coming probably pretty shortly thereafter on 3.0, and that's, in fact, that's actually why I had the debugger view up here earlier, is because we're prototyping and looking at different ways of visualizing the stack. And so you would at least be able to see, okay, well, here's the reference to that. There's this many bytes between these two. It's intended specifically for that kind of situation. You can actually, so let's go to this one. I had the debugger installed. So let's actually just run this one. And actually, I prefer the memory layout. So let's resume. Let's go to our breakpoint. So I think I can go to RS $and RSP. Yeah. So this is kind of we've been thinking about this a little bit. And if you step over a couple times here, we'll see as we step in the debugger where it's annotating what the stack looks like and what these variables look like. This is one of the like designs that we've been considering and kind of looking at how we might have things look. The other alternative, or something maybe kind of a hybrid of the two, is actually over here, and that's the actual stack kind of viewer, which just has the offset and the value here. It's a little bit hard to read this particular theme actually, and I think it annotates like as you step, as the stack changes. Did I lose step over? Oh, let's breakpoint. Let's can resume to that breakpoint. So now we're in main. So yeah, you see, I think registers as they change, or is it just if they're not zero? Yeah, no, that's no, because that was zero. So it is something about them changing. I can double check probably the debugger information. But anyway, so this view or this view, something kind of like it, probably something more like this, but potentially showing structures in line the way that we do in like other parts of the debug viewer, which is really nice. Or another good example is if you hit liter view. Oops, no, where am I going? I just want to go to the top. There's a hotkey for that, but kind of how we do here as well too. Like when we have a structure decomposed onto memory address is how we'll actually pull it out like that. Kind of like this combined view where the stack would potentially show stack structures with the values and the fields and the types, but also just show, you know, a struct with unknown bytes, or with, instead of question marks, it would be like there's no type, we have no access information, but we know there's 10 bytes here, for example, in this structure. So that's going to be nice too. Like I said, that's actually probably coming relatively early after the 2.4 ships. It might even, I think, be underway. We'll see. Might be kind of underway before 2.4 ships. So as soon as 2.4 is out the door, it'll hit dev. But yeah, good question. And then actually, I don't think we have an ETA on the array automatic array detection. I actually don't expect it to be hard. Famous last words. Mostly because I'm not the one who's going to have to do it. Rusty will do that. But he's busy with the UI refactor now, taking a break from like the HLIL decompiler improvements and working on UI stuff. So we'll see when we get back to the array stuff. But yep, good questions. All right, so let's go back to our test build. I mean, I think we've kind of plumbed the depths of this a little bit. There might be more things we could do with the detection. And like I said, I do know that it actually will collate them across multiple accesses, which is super nice. Which one actually accessed the global one? That was test pointers. Let me see. Yeah. What did I call it this time? Was it? Don't know. No. Yeah, it was. Oops. Okay, there we go. Oh, except it's not a pointer. It's actually a... All right, there we go. So we can pull our global structure. But yeah, I don't know if... so nothing ends up setting this field, and it's just a pointer to the... yeah. Is it field 8? Steps 2. Yeah, so it is currently just still a void star. So this really should be a Deno star, right? Wasn't what we called it? I feel like I'm navigating weird, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. Just hitting escape. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really change anything because it was still just it doesn't do anything with that reference or that code, but. Yeah, again, no decompiler, no reversing tool is ever going to be perfect, and that's again where stuff like being interactive and having an API and fixing things up after the fact is going to be important. But we should absolutely do all we can to automatically get all this stuff if we can, to make it easier to do it out of the box, even if you sometimes have to go fix it. But well, cool, yeah. So that's auto structures. It is literally, right click and say please to make a structure, and it does that for you. Does what it says in the tin. I'm happy with it. So I look forward to. Excuse me. That should land early next week onto dev, barring any internal testing problems, and then y'all can give us feedback and see how it works for you and put it through its paces. So very cool. All right, I think the next thing is we're gonna do our Binary Ninja basics. I will remember to turn off the chat and the video here. But any other questions or things y'all want to talk about before we dive into that? And I'm gonna double caffeinate today. I'm getting both the chai and a Coke. Gotta get the good actual cane sugar Coke, not the corn syrup stuff. Cool. Well, we'll go ahead and continue, and we'll dive into the Binary Ninja basics. I haven't decided if after we do the Ninja basics, if we're going to do anything else. Just kind of was not sure depending on the timing, because I knew that it might take a little bit to go through these two features. So we'll see. But if y'all have suggestions, we can do that. But and in fact, or we could do even 2 Binary Ninja basics if y'all want to get crazy. So here is the topics that I was thinking about covering. Hey, Nop, welcome. The Binary Ninja basics topics that we have still to be covered include types and structure editing, which I'm actually not going to do. That one I think is very useful, but I want to not do that one now, mostly because I want to get some better sample binaries all kind of lined up before I do that one. And I think after the 3.0 UI changes happen, you're going to really like the workflow for working with types, and that's going to change a little bit. And so I'm excited to do that at that point. So I want to do one of these topics that won't have to be redone. Man, we have to do. I should probably redo like a lot of these basics after the new UI comes out. But the current topics to vote is SCC. Thank you, Epistominer. That is a good suggestion. Let me edit my notes here. That is another one that belongs in a Binary Ninja Basics episode. And hey, Bill, let me read yours as well now. Oh, interesting. So Bill, it should like just work. So for example, my native box is a Mac and is running. There you go. So I just switched. I don't know if I have clear recent. I don't think I have anything there. I just don't like to clutter it. So this is on my native Mac. If I actually search for Python interpreter, it should just automatically find the stuff for you. So if it's not, you may have your homebrew in a weird location, but you'll notice I don't have to pre-populate any of these. These are all just part of the normal searches. So you should just be able to like brew install Python at whatever specific version you see. I've got 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. I switch between all of them for testing. So you should be able to do that between all of them. And actually, I guess I could. Let me pop open a shell. And let's go in here and look specifically what we're pointing at. So here's 3.8. Let's do 9. So it's the same one. Frameworks. 3.9, 3.9.5. 395 frameworks, Python versions, 39 file Python. Yeah, so it is not named .dylib. So nice of them to do that. But it is just a file called Python, and it's in that path. Like I said, though, you shouldn't have to point Binja at it directly, unless you've installed it to some sort of non-standard location. If you did just install it normally and it somehow ended in a place that we don't detect, please let us know, because we have a bunch of search paths that we maintain for all the platforms. We'd like to make that easy. No, SCC is not under active development. Honestly, it's a really cool capability, and it's has some neat stuff. But like, we don't really market it at all. I don't think that's why most people buy Binary Ninja, and so there's some question as to the commercial utility of it right now. So it doesn't get a lot of love. If if we get a lot of people asking for specific things, maybe we'll do some more with it, or if one of our folks internally gets interested in it. But it's just hard to justify too much time into it when the main features that people are buying their product for are mostly probably focused elsewhere. But feel free to upvote the SCC stuff. But there we go. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, that should do it then. You should be able to point at the similar ones. Is it just opt local then instead of user local? If so, that'd be an easy change, and we can homebrew in opt. We could probably just duplicate our code with all of the search paths for user local with like opt local instead. So yeah, that should be pretty easy to do. Yeah, so we'll see Piston Miner. I know, and we did have plans and ideas. There's more stuff we'd like to do with it. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up doing some CTF challenge or something where we really want to have a SCC capability, and we'll get nerd sniped and go off and implement the feature instead of solving the challenge. I could easily see that happening. So, yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. I mean, there's other stuff that we want to do with it too internally. We'd love to be able to use BNIL for the actual compilation that happens. So that'll be fun. There's, by the way, a really cool Twitch stream that just started up. I got a notification I saw on my iPad because I forgot to turn on Do Not Disturb. But on program languages and program analysis type stuff, Ginasaur, I forget her full username on Twitch, but she's interviewing Ned Williams and talking about some fuzzing stuff in browsers. So depending on when we end, or now, if you just don't want to head over there and come and watch the VOD later, but that'll be a cool stream to watch. That's probably what I plan on doing afterwards. Yeah, so like being able to like actually use BNIL integrated and like compile with I don't know. There's all sorts of cool stuff that would be fun to do to re-emit things. So the other way we've talked about doing stuff like that is actually BNIL to LVMIR would be another kind of way to kind of go back around. There's some considerations with the way that we're doing deferred flags and like implicit flag calculation. We'd have to produce explicit flags to emit to something that would then get recompiled back natively probably. But yeah, it's maybe we wouldn't. I mean, there might be other ways we could do it too. I don't know. It's something we've talked about, and there's some ideas, but cool. All right, let me get this and go back here. Okay, so I think, yeah, there's a lot of neat stuff you could do with an LVMR translation. So let's kill this, and I think I'm going to, excuse me, kill the music just for a second so we don't have background music. Is that what I want to do? Maybe I'll do so I'm going to start with, let's see. Let's get this, no, let's get the dev build of Binja. Let's get it here. And all right, so let's do that. And pardon my little intro here. I'm gonna intro it, but welcome to another episode of Binary Ninja Basics. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about hotkeys and actions, how you can do things and interact with the keyboard, and avoiding the mouse as much as possible. So with Binary Ninja, first of all, a couple of things you can do right from the homepage. You can actually just hit a recent file number just by hitting number 1, for example, and open up the most recent file. You might not know all of the hotkeys that you could do at any given moment. There's a couple ways you can do that. There's a couple ways you can find that out. First, you can check the user documentation, where the Getting Started guide actually has a whole section on hotkeys. Right, and so the default hotkeys here will give you most of the generic kind of default hotkeys you would use to navigate around. Then there's a few extra ones that exist over in the type guide, because there's a whole set of hotkeys specifically for interacting with types, changing the size of the type, creating a string, creating a pointer, creating an array, and then the S magic hotkey that will just create a structure based on what's actually happened. And the other main key features of interacting with hotkeys are that you can actually remap all of them, of course. So I just hit Control-Shift-B on Linux or Windows, and then on Mac that would be Command-Shift-B for your key bindings. And so that's the mnemonic there for that one. And you'll see we've actually got tons and tons of kind of actions described throughout the UI, along with the default, and then whether my current binding matches that one or not. So you'll notice that as I scroll through the list, there can be some changes. So like this one, for example, where I've made a custom keybind for reset window layout to the default is Control-Shift-R, and I've actually cleared it because on my particular bindings, I've got a separate action that I prefer to take, which I'm going to find any second here. Because on my settings, I've actually got a particular layout. Like I've got the ability to save and load window layouts, and I wanted to map that hotkey to a different layout instead of the normal default to one that I like that's different. And so you'll notice here I've also searched. You can just click and type in the name of any of these actions that you want to take, and you'll see the key binding that matches with it, whether it's a default, anything that kind of matches there. My favorite way of interacting, though, is actually not even directly using the hotkeys themselves, but is hitting Control-P or Command-P, which is the command palette. And from here, I can actually type in all of those actions we saw before, like layout, and it shows me all of the actions that have the word layout in them. And so you can see my load normal layout where I've got my custom hotkey. It shows that hotkey right here. So you can not only discover new hotkeys, but also just quickly take a number of different actions without even having to know the hotkey. And so you see it shifted my layout slightly back to this default layout that I wanted. But I could also hit Control-P and choose a different layout if I wanted. This is my minimal layout that I've got. Again, I can bind that. So let's go ahead and go back to Control-Shift-B or key bindings. Oops. Control-Shift-B and go to our key bindings. And we can take the minimal layout, and I double click into the key bindings here, and we're going to do Control-Shift-M because that kind of parallels what I currently was using, and I don't think it conflicts with anything. So if I do Control-Shift-R to reset to normal layout, and then Control-Shift-M is going to go back to minimal, unless it conflicts with something else. Control-Shift-M, Control-Shift-R. Let's find another hotkey. Control-Shift-N. That's definitely not it. Control-Shift-L. Doesn't look like it does anything. So let's do... So if I double click here, I can hit a hotkey like Control-Shift-L. And then if I want to load my minimal layout, I can hit that hotkey and trigger the layout. There is also something that is not doable with the UI currently, but because all of the settings inside of the key bindings are available in your user folder under a keybindings.json file, you can actually map multiple hotkeys to the same action. So if there's other hotkeys that you want to do, you can put them into this particular file by making a list of hotkeys. And so we'll have an example linked in the description to show how you can do that. But the UI doesn't make it super convenient to do that, but easy enough to just edit this file and add that. And it's also nice because you can quickly see all of the hotkeys that you've changed from the defaults. So again, it's really easy to navigate in Binary Ninja as well using the hotkeys. So one of the things that when you're in any of the views, you can actually use the arrow keys to navigate between lines. You can hit space, for example, to switch to a graph view, although let's find it particularly something a little bit more interesting. So if I'm in graph view and I'm navigating with the hotkeys, you'll notice that when I hit down onto something that has multiple destinations, it'll highlight the branch that I'm about to take if I hit down again, but I can also choose a different branch instead if I want to navigate to a different branch. All right. Piston Miner, did I address the thing you were suggesting? I'm trying to remember if you were talking about multi-hotkeys, or you're talking about when you do like a key sequence in a row. And this is the best part about having a video editor. Thank you, Flecky, because I can take breaks in the middle of the stuff and he'll edit all of the wasted stuff out. It's great. And if anybody else thinks of any favorite tricks with hotkeys or the action system. Key sequence, yeah. I'm trying to remember, can you do that in the, so let's see. I used this before. Oh, I used it for navigate. There was one where I had like my Vim key bindings. Let me see if I can find that in my gist. Actually, I should probably also mention that. Wow, really older than that? Ah, there we go. Okay, let's copy this one in. Oh, Piston Miner, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Very, very cool. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. So it's not, okay. All right, so I'm going to mention this, and let's go back to error number 3. Yeah. Well, maybe it would have been better if it didn't crash on me. Oh, no, it didn't crash. It hit itself, I think. That came back too fast. Hold on. No, that was the other window. What happened here? Okay, so let's hide reflection. And B. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Okay, so no, it's int. What is it? Side display as. There we go. So display as is a good one, I think, to show. Yeah, to show different types. So one of the other lesser known features as well is that you can not only map a single hotkey, but you can actually do a sequence of keys. So if, for example, I wanted to change, let's see, display as float, let's do Control D maybe as a good hotkey prefix, and we'll do Control D, Control F, and that sequence of keys would then change this value to a float. So if I double click the keybind, Control D, Control F, and you'll notice it's actually got this whole sequence now. So if I go back to say this particular, or well, this one might be a little more interesting, and then go Control D, Control F. I've actually changed that to a float, and so that allows you to really kind of nest and stack hotkeys in a way that's much more powerful than just a single mapping would be. And again, that is different if you're looking at the key setting, the key bindings file from doing a multiple hotkeys where you actually have a list of multiple keys that either one of them could be mapped. This will instead require both of these keys in sequence, one after the other. Awesome. Yeah, glad you caught that piston miner. That was it. Sweet. All right, so that's the end of our basics, I think. Am I missing anything else? Anybody else got any hotkeys? I like, one thing, yeah. One other thing to mention about the command palette is, you'll notice when I hit Control P that some of these options are blue up top. There's a nice most recent use list, and so that the last thing you've done in the command palette is always going to be up top, which just lets you hit Control P or Command P and enter to do something if you're frequently doing it, and just makes it easier than typing to be able to maybe hit down a couple times to find something you've recently run, which is really helpful. Any plugin that is registered is also triggerable through here and can add its own custom actions and commands. This really makes it very easy for you to map custom key bindings to anything a plugin can do. And it's also worth mentioning that the Snippets plugin, which is not installed by default, but you can install it from our plugin manager, is another nice way to write little custom snippets of Python, create a key binding from there as well. So you can actually have a little couple lines of code that you want to write to do something frequently, bind that to a custom hotkey and trigger it given the full UI context anywhere you wanted in the binary. Yeah, I really like this. It's like semantic keybinds, right? It reminds me of like, actually, you know what it really reminds me of is like Helm with Spacemacs, the way they configured it, where they had like the leader key and then it was like sort of like topical, right? So W would be all then your window hotkeys. And you could just do Control D for display, and then just, you don't even have to do a control key at that point for the key sequence. So you could really just do like Control D, you get the whole keyboard for like display types. We really should expand on that, I think, for the defaults. And have some more examples of those. That's a great, yeah. That's a cool idea. Yeah, I feel like I've known that before, and then I've totally forgotten about it. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a cool one. All right. Let's see what else. We covered the Binary Ninja basics. Yeah, display as is one that happens a lot. I could definitely see, and actually I'm curious. Let's see what other yeah, we've already got all of these as single hotkey ones. Yeah, I don't know if there's I mean, you could like reorg these into like, you know, Alt C and then the number or something if you wanted to. Then you could actually also have like shift the number would be the float version or something maybe, but I think that might be harder than the way it currently is kind of nice currently. Yeah, and even like if you've got a plugin like the debugger plugin, right? Like hiding a whole bunch of hotkeys behind key prefix there. Although it would be nice. It's not a real modal. The other thing I was going to mention is my gist within bindings, but I don't think I really need to mention that in the video. We can always link to it as an example in the description. But yeah, display as. I wouldn't mind some of the show hide stuff. I did that a lot. I feel like showing and hiding would be kind of interesting too to put behind another hotkey. You could have highlight colors, like if you do a lot of highlighting to different colors. Yeah, so I know that the convert to is not the same as display as, but I think you still might want to do it there. Yeah, highlighting would be a really interesting one. You could do a lot of the colors there. Although if you have any, yeah, blue and black would be the same letter. Otherwise, they're all pretty distinct first letters. You do L for one of them, and B for the other one. That'd be pretty sweet. Because yeah, then if you like do a lot of highlighting, you can really quickly do all that. I don't think any of the make function stuff makes sense. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Thinking of other. Yeah, there's already pretty good bookmark hotkeys. That's the whole point of the defaults for there, is to have those be easy for quick navigation. Yeah, so like the show hide stuff. Nah, yeah, I think that's probably it. Yeah, that's a good list though. Um, it would be kind of cool too if there was like a filtered version of the command palette, right? Like I would love a hotkey that's like, Control Alt T is the transform prefix, and so then it's basically it's already got transform. It's only showing me the transfer options, so I could hit Control Alt T and then just type hex, right? And it's going to automatically go to just the hex something without having to type trans each time, right? So I think it would be interesting if there was like a kind of like a smart filtering thing where you could prefix with that. But anyway, cool. All right, what else do we have on the agenda? Oh, so we could do we could go back to looking at our crazy bomb. Although I didn't line up. I prefer Josh or another victim. I mean volunteer from Vector 35 to come and suffer with me if we're gonna reverse together. Um, oh, he's here. See, he made the mistake of of saying something now. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think I probably would rather just do a shorter stream this time, than dive into anything too deep. But I wouldn't be against something smaller if we let me see. So what was the other list of basic videos and topics we were going to discuss? Or if y'all, like I said, if y'all have any other suggestions, I do think I'm going to try to get some more guests. It's been a while since we had like a guest with a plugin or something to talk about. I did hear rumor of a presentation where somebody was demoing an interesting graphing plugin to Binary Ninja that was doing stuff that might be fun to talk about. So I've talked to the person behind that, and they said not today, but maybe later. So we might get them on. And any other plugin authors. I'm gonna get Marcus on here one of these days. He keeps saying maybe eventually, but he doesn't feel like he has a lot to talk about. But he's got lots of stuff to talk about. He's done all sorts of cool stuff. We could talk about so many things. Um, so maybe we'll get that going if I get to bugging people a little bit earlier. Um, but we could do another Binary Ninja Basics on using and troubleshooting plugins, just kind of talking about all like what goes into running and working with plugins, whether we talk about first as a user and then as a plugin author and some of the things that go into it. We could talk about BNIL and some of the differences in ILs and navigating between them, as well as kind of what each IL represents. Tags and bookmarks, cross references and searching, SCC. We got a lot of good topics. So you could know those, or we can. No, you guys are just chilling, hanging out. I'm curious how many people are like have in the background, kind of like half paying attention. I tend to do that with streams. I've noticed. Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna do no feedback. Nobody has expressed interest yet. I might just pick one of these other Binary Ninja Basics and do that, and that might take us to maybe the hour and a half point, which would be a nice break spot. Could go have dinner with the kids. So I did order pizza this time early enough. I remember before the stream, so I don't have to stop and order pizza for them, so my kids won't starve. Yeah, pizza again. In my defense, pizza is our Friday night tradition. Pizza and a movie usually. So, all right. Anybody have any feedback? No choices between plugins, BNIL. Want to do one of those? Right, exactly. Pizza's important. You gotta have your priorities. All right, let's do plugins. So let's do a basics on a plugin. And that reminds me also, I forgot to turn back on the video after we were done with it. But yeah, so let's do. I'm gonna wrap up. We'll do another Binary Ninja basics on plugins, and give Flecky some more editing to keep busy with, and then we'll probably kind of wrap it up. So let me clean up this real quick, and then let's see. Using and writing plugins. Bring up the community plugins. Actually, I think that one has the example plugin link to it too. Maybe it doesn't. No, it does down here, I believe. Yeah. All right, so this has pretty good list of items. Let's do that. Okay. So, oh, I see pizza being delivered right now. It's coming. Good. All right, kids are gonna have their food. Do I want to switch this to tree view? That's fine. All right, so I feel like I'm constantly dragging that back down. I wonder what's making that one grow. All right. Welcome back for another Binary Ninja Basics. In this episode, we're going to be talking about plugins. We're going to be talking about using them as a user and writing them as an author. Can you look at my dog? It's drop off pizza. You're supposed to just drop it off. Okay. All right, let's try this again. This is the best part about having a video editor. Welcome back to another Binary Ninja Basics. This episode, we're going to talk about plugins, using them as a user and writing them as a plugin author. So as a user, there's a couple different ways you can get plugins to work. First, right from within Binary Ninja itself, if you hit Control-Shift-M or Command-Shift-M, depending on whether you're on Mac, Linux, or Windows, you're going to get the plugin manager. And within the plugin manager, you can see a large list of plugins, includes some from the community, some from the Vector 35, like official plugins. In fact, we can even search those. So you notice if I just leave my mouse cursor hovering up here, we've got some keywords that it's telling me I can search for. So I can type community just to see, and if I can spell it right. So I can type community and see all the community plugins. I can type official and see all the official plugins. I can even see ones just that I've enabled by typing enabled, right? And so that's going to let me see and manage all of my existing plugins. Installing a new plugin is super easy. You click the plugin, you click the install button, and the first time you do this, you're going to get a warning if it's a community plugin, but you can always ignore it and let it continue. You can also just click enable, which will both install and enable it right from the beginning. Some plugins you're going to want to restart to load, and some will work right out of the box. But that lets you quickly install the plugins. There's also a manual install method. So when you are working with a plugin, like if we look at the source, for example, of this AVR architecture plugin, the plugin itself lives here on GitHub, for example, and I could just take that entire repository and clone it directly into my user plugins folder. If you check in the user documentation guide, docs.binary.ninja. It's also in your offline install under the help menu under user reference. The getting started guide will describe to you all of the paths for where your user folder is depending on your platform. And inside of my user folder is a plugin folder, and I can manually put plugins there. You can see a couple here that we've been working on or that, through earlier stream episodes. And this can take two forms. It could be just the raw plugin itself. You can see I've got a .so file and I've got just a .py file directly. Or it could be a plugin that is actually like a full Python plugin with an init .py and any of the other information. And both types of those will be loaded when you load Binary Ninja. The plugin manager itself uses the repositories folder. And so you can actually look in there and see all of the plugins that I've installed using the repository manager, but you don't actually have to do that. Again, you can just do it directly from the UI to manage things. But if you ever want to go poking around in one of those or find a raw file, you can get it from there. Plugins can register themselves a couple different ways, and so sometimes they can just extend the UI and add new buttons, but they most commonly are available via the Tools Plugins menu. Most of the default ways you would access them, or some of them will work on particular functions, and so you might right-click on a function and have a plugin that would take an action on that plugin that function versus just doing something generically across the whole binary. And of course, you can also use the command palette with Control P or Command P, and then type the name of the function, like snippets, for example, which let me write snippets of Python, but also has an editor that let me edit all of those snippets directly and trigger them via the either in the UI or via the command palette. So that covers most of the things you might want to know for a plugin when things are going well. But what if you have to deal with some troubleshooting? What if there's a bug in your plugin? Well, first you can use the log window, which I've got down here enabled. You can make sure that's on by going under native docs and hide log or show log under the view menu. And you'll see, actually, I did have a problem. One of my plugins isn't compatible with my new API. So I could go rebuild that plugin or get the latest version. And native plugins have to have compatibility, and we'll check and warn before they'll even run with the current core architecture. So it keeps them from trying to call into an outdated API and crashing. You'll also see I can see all the other plugins that were loaded through here. Any other Python plugins would have also come in here as well. So if you've got trouble, though, let's go back to our user documentation, and there's a whole section on using and writing plugins that's going to talk about a lot of things I've just covered and manually adding them to your plugin folder. You can even directly script up and automate installation via the plugin manager. This documentation on installing prerequisites is actually a little outdated because the latest version will automatically install prerequisites for you if the plugin is configured for it. So if a plugin has a requirements.txt, Binary Ninja will automatically install those requirements for you and makes working with Python plugins a lot easier. The troubleshooting section here is as the last little bit I want to cover on using plugins, which is you might want to save off a log to submit to a plugin author and run with debug mode enabled. And if you just launch Binary Ninja on the command line with -D and -L, you can get yourself a log file, which might make it easier to troubleshoot things. And then there's two other tricks that you can do as well. If you've got just a general Binary Ninja problem and you suspect a plugin might be to blame, you can launch Binary Ninja with -P on the command line, and it will disable all plugins and all architectures. Or you can set some environment variables and just disable user plugins, and there's that will help kind of minimize troubleshooting. So one of the things you can do if you've got some weird behavior that you want to report as a bug, you can always just check and see if it's a plugin that you've installed that's caused it. So that's great for using plugins. They're really easy to use. A lot of the power of Binary Ninja comes through the API and many of the powerful plugins people have written. And what if you want to write one? If you want to write a plugin, what are some of the things that you should be aware of? Well, first, your plugin could be installed either the two ways that I just talked about. You might have a plugin that users install via the plugin manager, or you might have a plugin that users can just directly clone into their plugin folder. Either way. If you do want to have a plugin that's installed in the plugin manager, you've got a couple of requirements. They're relatively straightforward. But if we look at one of these plugins, for example, the AVR architecture plugin, we'll see this key bit right here, this plugin.json file. So this JSON file defines some metadata that the plugin manager will use to show information about the plugin, determine if it's compatible with the version of Binary Ninja you have, give you all the description information. And that is generated actually by either a tool that you can use yourself, or you can manually generate it if you prefer. But there's this sample repository here called Release Helper, which includes this generate plugin info, which can quickly generate your JSON file for you. And as you're doing releases of your plugin, this utility may be very helpful. So there's a couple of examples right there. Because it is important that just when you commit to GitHub, it doesn't necessarily update the plugin in the plugin manager. What you actually have to do are do releases. This is really nice because you as a plugin developer don't have to worry about committing something that breaks. Like only at sort of set stable points would you maybe want to create a release that would be installed in the plugin manager, and you can do that here. There used to be a process where you would let the Vector35 team know and file an issue. That is all done at this point. Once you are already accepted into the plugin manager, all you have to do is cut in your release. We automatically detect it and we'll update in the plugin manager at periodic intervals. And so that's really all it takes. You could use the do release tool to update, change the version information, create and tag the release, and that'll all happen automatically. Anything else I missed about writing plugins? So one of the more common questions about writing a plugin is testing it. Like if I've got a plugin and I don't want to have to like reload Binary Ninja to test my changes in my plugin, can I do that in the UI? And the answer is maybe. It depends. So for example, this is a useful snippet in that writing plugin documentation that will let you reload a plugin and call some method from it again and again. So if you've got an editor up and you're changing your code, you can change it, test your plugin, and then you can rerun it by just hitting up enter in the Python console with a snippet like this. It's not, however, possible with a binary view or an architecture. Because these are initialized at load in Binary Ninja, you do have to restart Binary Ninja. In that case, if you do happen to have a commercial license, it can actually help a little bit because you can just have a headless standalone script that you're running that does something with the architecture and print out the results, and you can just rerun that script iteratively as you're developing out your architecture. But for all other plugins, this little snippet makes it really easy to quickly iterate and test on it. In terms of best practices, the standard that you maintain for your kind of plugin style is up to you, and we don't really have any kind of set guidelines there. We are, of course, have a pretty savvy user community, but the more you do in terms of documentation and screenshots, I think the more attractive it makes your plugin, and the more likely people are going to be to run it. And so having a really nice description field that shows off what your plugin is capable of, I think is really helpful. So hopefully that is useful, whether you are a user who just wants to know how to find the latest and greatest plugins and use them, or whether you're interested in writing them. And as always, if you have any questions, contact us on support, join us in Slack. I feel like I get a little bit like fake when I'm doing like a basics video. I'm like trying to get through and I feel a little stilted, but I need to be a little bit more natural maybe on doing that. Ooh. I mean, there is like a Domino's API, I'm pretty sure, Piston Miner. Order pizza from Binary Ninja automatically based on how much time you spent in a single. Like, if it's been just too long, it's like, listen, man, you need some pizza. You deserve some pizza. Let me pop back on here. Now everybody can see the chat message about pizza, right? I think that should show up in the overlay. There we go. Well, cool. Yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out this evening. I'm excited. I think this 2.4 release is shaping up very nicely, and I'm looking forward to coming back and playing with it at the next. Hopefully, it'll be out, and we'll be just reviewing all the 2.4 stuff, and or maybe having a special guest as well. I think next week. Anybody got any other questions before we sign out? Oh, and I didn't actually check chat. So Josh, is this big BNDB performance improvement, is that already landed or is it coming in the next like you're landing it? I'm wondering. I'm trying to remember. Like I know you were working on the some of the perf stuff earlier. Is this like is that a new thing? Something else is coming? I like getting surprises on stream. Well, I like getting good surprises on stream. Oh, it's been right. Yeah. The one that you already landed. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There's several. And I think it was there was. You also had your. Didn't you have some of the allocator changes that landed? That were not BNDB performance improvements, but you just had some straight up actual performance improvements on 2.4 too, didn't you? You also landed some of those. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Oh, is that post 2.4? Okay, all right. So post 2.4, we'll have some. I thought some of the changes came already and some were coming afterwards. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe those aren't actually landing yet. But yeah, we've got some. Excuse me. 20% reduction in analysis time and 15% memory reduction as well. So looking forward to those. Yeah. Things are keep going. Well, actually, I think Comics just tweeted about Binary Ninja using all the memory. So we can tell them, well, it should be 15% less come come post 2.4 when that one lands. Yeah. No, of course, Bill. You anytime you're welcome, and of course the Binary Ninja Slack is another great place to pop in and get help too. In case I'm not streaming, but I'm always happy to do it here. It's fun to chat with people and keeps me awake, lets me know people are listening. So always happy to interact here. Good chill, everybody. Cool. Yeah, the all the memory. I need to have like a Cookie Monster, but with Binge's face on it, like eating cookies, and it's like they're labeled RAM, just for the memes. I'm gonna do that. Like, yeah, what's your problem? I don't think that's how that works, Josh. I'm not sure if that command is necessarily gonna do it, but cool. All right, everybody. Well, I'm gonna go enjoy my pizza. It was good to see everybody. We'll catch you in 2 more weeks to look at all the stuff that's landed with 2.4. And till then, take care.